Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Jessica. Today I am very excited to finally be sitting down to film my Pan That palette update for, I guess now this will be the month of May. I did miss a month of updates on this project, so my apologies, but I promise you the wait will be well worth it because I have some great progress to share with you. If you are just joining me, I am panning my Too Faced Sweet Peach palette this year, and of course I'm not trying to use up this entire palette. That would take years probably, even if I used it every single day, but I am trying to hit pan on every single one of these shades, and I'm really hopeful that I'm going to get there this year. My apologies for missing April as far as this update goes. I kept meaning to film it, and then it just kept getting later and later in the month, and eventually it got so late that I figured, let's just go ahead and wait until May to get this one updated. It just was a really hard month for me, the month of April, so my apologies for going MIA a little bit, but I'm hoping that this energy I'm feeling today will continue in the next couple months and we can keep on schedule with all of our panning updates going forward. No promises. So let's jump right in, but before we do, if you are new here and you like panning content, please consider subscribing to my channel. I would love to have you stick around. And before you all forget, go ahead and give this video a quick thumbs up if you like this kind of stuff. It would help me out so much. Here's what this palette was looking like when I first started this project in January. I had just one pan on it in that bottom left corner, Peaches and Cream. Here's what the palette was looking like last month. I was up to 3 pans in this palette. I had recently hit pan on Luscious in the first row and Caramelized down there in the third row. And after the past 2 months, here is what the palette is looking like today. Hopefully you're able to notice a big difference in this palette from March up until today. Even though I wasn't able to film an update video, I have been plugging away at this palette and really working hard on it. So I'm really hoping that you'll be able to see that reflected in this progress video. I have 5 new pans to share with you on this palette, which is well above my goal. Of course, my goal was just for 1 month of progress, but I was able to smash all of those goals. And I think that even though we didn't get that update filmed, I was still motivated to really work away at this palette and make some really great progress on it. So let's go through all of these shades individually, but just a little recap about my goals from last month, or from March, I should say. I wanted to hit at least 2 pans. Definitely hit that goal. I wanted to use all the shades at least 5 times. I'm happy to say I did that one as well. And I wanted to use Bless Her Heart at least 10 times, this green shade up here, and I was able to hit that goal as well, and subsequently a pan. So I'm going to go through each of these shades one at a time, show you comparison videos from last update to this update, share with you how many times I have used them since the last update and how many times I've used them total. At the end, I'll share with you the weight difference on this palette from last update till today and create some new goals for our next update, which hopefully will just be a month from now. So let's jump right on into it. Starting off with that first shade in the palette, White Peach, and our first exciting update for this video. Here's what White Peach was looking like last update. This was after 41 uses in the project. I reached for this shade a whopping 33 times, and here's what this shade is looking like today. And as you can see, we do have a nice size pan on that shade today. This has been my go-to inner corner highlight shade, and it is so easy to reach for, so easy to use, and a really nice pop of brightness on the inner corner. So I'm really excited that I have a pan on that one now. I can kind of relax on it a little bit, but I do intend to reach for it a lot more in the remainder of this year in that same function and hopefully expand that pan to be quite large. The next shade in this palette had a pan on it last update, that is Luscious. Here's what Luscious was looking like last update. This was after 25 uses in the project. My goal was to reach for it at least 5 times. I reached for it 19 times. And here's what Luscious is looking like today. And I think with those 19 uses, you will see a nice expansion in the size of that pan. This shade also works really well as an inner corner highlight, but I've also used it on my lid quite a few times, and it's such a beautiful shade. Probably one of my favorite shades in this palette, and I have had so much fun reaching for it, and that's another one that I expect to have a really big pan on by the end of this year. Shade number 3 is Just Peachy. Here's what Just Peachy was looking like last update. This was after 7 uses in the project. I reached for it 6 times this month, so not the amount of progress I was able to get with some other shades, but still was able to meet that 5 use goal and exceed it. And here's what it's looking like today after 13 uses total. And it's starting to get a slight little disturbance in the surface of that pan, but this is definitely going to be one that I'm going to have to focus on to get some real progress on it, and I intend to do that very soon. It's such a beautiful shade for spring. It has a nice like gold iridescent shift to it, and I just need to give it the attention it deserves so that I can get close to hitting that pan. Shade number 4 is Bless Her Heart, one of my focus shades for the past couple months. Here's what Bless Her Heart was looking like last month. This was after 7 uses in the project. My goal was to reach for it 10 times, and I did in fact reach that 10 use goal like I mentioned, making for 17 uses total. And here's what Bless Her Heart is looking like today. And you can see we have a nice little pan in there. I was able to hit pan on the 7th use, so the 14th use total, but then I completed my 10 uses because I like to hit my goals as best I can. I probably could have reached for it a few more times, being that there has been 2 months since my last update, but once I hit pan on it, I was just happy to focus on other shades. So I will definitely reach for it a few more times and expand it a little bit, but it's not going to be a focus for me anymore now that I have hit that pan on it. Let's move on to that next shade, Tempting, my first real challenging shade for this palette. It's a black shimmery shade, and I've been reaching for this shade as a liner topper mostly. Here's what Tempting was looking like last update. This was after 13 uses in the project. I reached for it 6 times, making for 19 uses total, and here's what Tempting is looking like today. And even though we don't have a significant dip, there is a dip starting to form, and this is another shade that I intend to focus on very soon so that I can have hope of hitting pan on it this year. I don't expect to have a large pan on it, but by reaching for it as a liner topper, I think I should be able to hit that pan eventually if I just have consistent use on it. And we're gonna start chipping away on that in the next couple months. The last shade in this row and the third pan for this update is Charmed, I'm Sure. This has been my brow powder for the past couple months, and that is ultimately what helped me to hit pan on it. Here's what Charmed, I'm Sure was looking like last update. This was after 38 uses in the project. I reached for it 30 times, making for 68 uses total, and here is Charmed, I'm Sure today. And it has a nice little pan in there. It's quite a deep pan because I'm wearing it away so unevenly, you know, just going in there with a very precise eyebrow brush, but pan all the same. And now that I have pan on it, I'm still using it as my brow powder, but I'm not necessarily concentrating in that central point. I'm just kind of like going wherever on the pan and getting my brow powder that way. So happy to have pan on that one, hoping that it will get slightly larger during the course of this year, but ultimately, again, just happy to have reached that goal of pan. Let's move on to that second row and keep going with that good news. We are moving on to Nectar. Nectar is another new pan to share with you. Here's what Nectar was looking like last update. This was after 34 uses in the project. I reached for it 21 times since that update, making for 55 uses total. And here's what Nectar is looking like today. And again, we have a small pan, but a pan all the same. This is also a great shade for the inner corner. I love mixing it with White Peach. I also love it just by itself. I also love it on the lid, so it's a really easy go-to shimmer shade for me, and I know that that is another shade that will be expanding quite easily over the course of the remainder of this year. Very exciting to have so many new pans to share with you guys this update. Our next shade in this row is Cobbler. Cobbler is another one that I know I'm gonna have to focus on pretty soon if I wanna see some significant progress on it. Here's what Cobbler was looking like last update. This was after just 5 uses in the project. How pathetic. I reached for it 10 times since then, making for 15 uses total, and here's what Cobbler is looking like today. And similar story to just Peachy, we are just starting to see a dip starting to form in this shade, but nothing too major yet. It's kind of a dense shade and it doesn't have the biggest color payoff. It's not the shimmeriest of browns. It's kind of a very, I don't know, kind of boring shade in my opinion, but I am going to try and hit pan on all the same. I'm going to try and hit pan on all of these, of course, but that one's going to take a little bit of extra attention in order for me to get there, and I intend on giving it that attention very soon because I'm ready to see a dip starting to form on that shade. Moving on to the next shade, Candied Peach. Here's what Candied Peach was looking like last update. This was after 16 uses in the project. I reached for it 13 times in the past month, making for 29 uses total, and here's what Candied Peach is looking like today. And this is a beautiful peachy matte. It's got a nice dip starting to form in it, and that is a shade that I think is going to be close to pan. I am going to focus on that one as well in the next several months, or at least I want to hit pan on that one very soon in the next month or two. I think that that is possible if I just give it some nice devoted attention, and hopefully we can count that one as a pan in the next update. So that's really what I'm going to be reaching for. And that's a similar story as well with the shade right next to it, Bellini. Here's what Bellini was looking like last update. This was after 7 uses in the project. I reached for it 7 times this month, making for 14 uses total. And here's Bellini today. And it has a nice dip. It's getting pretty low in the pan. Not quite low enough, but again, I think that's a shade that if I really focus on in the next month or two, a pan is just around the corner and it shouldn't be too difficult for me to reach that goal. So hopefully that's another pan I'm sharing with you very soon. Our next shade in this row is Peach Pit, this shimmery purple shade. Here's what Peach Pit was looking like last update. This was after 6 uses in the project. I reached for it 6 times this month, making for 12 uses total, and here's what Peach Pit is looking like today. It's starting to get a slight disturbance and the smallest of a dip in the surface of that pan, but nothing significant to share with you today. This is going to be one of the more challenging shades in this palette, but I am prepared for that. I know that if I make an effort and focus on it, I should be able to get a more significant dip formed in that one soon. So probably one that I'll have to really decide to focus on in order to get significant progress on. So that will be an intention of mine for sure. And moving on to that last shade in this palette, which is Dectible, the kind of the more matte purple shade. Here's what Dectible was looking like last update. This was after 8 uses in the project. I reached for it 7 times since last update, making for 15 uses total, and here's what Dectible is looking like today. And similar story to Peach Pit, although even less so. It's got just the slightest little disturbance in there, nothing really of a dip to speak of, but that one's going to be a challenge as well, so we'll just see how it goes. I might have to kind of reach into it as a liner topper if I want to see significant progress on it in the next several months. So that'll be another one that I'll really have to devote my attention to get that progress I want to see. Which brings us to the last row and a very exciting shade, Peaches and Cream. I mean, not an exciting shade because it's just a cream colored matte shade, but look how big and shiny that pan is. Here's what Peaches and Cream was looking like last update. This was after 41 uses in the project. It had a nice size pan on it. I've reached for it 33 times since then, making for 74 uses total. And here's Peaches and Cream today. And I'm very satisfied with the size of that pan and very hopeful that this shade will be empty very soon, if not by next month, maybe the month after that. And it will probably be my only empty shade in this palette by the end of the year. We'll see, but I'll be very satisfied with that if I am able to do that, which I know I will be, so yay. And let's go on to that next shade, Georgia. This is the other one that like is hopeful to be finished by the end of the year, but that's not necessarily a goal I am aiming for. Here's what Georgia was looking like last update. This was after 49 uses in the project. I've reached for it 34 times since then, making for 83 uses total, and here's Georgia today. And as you can see, I was able to hit pan on it from last update to this update. It's a pretty nice size pan. I use this mixed in with Peaches and Cream almost every single day to set my eyelid before I go in with my shadows. Works great for that. It's also great as a first transition shade if I want a really soft look that day, and it is one that should have a big juicy pan on it by the end of this year. I'm going to keep reaching for it consistently for sure. Which brings us to our next shade, Caramelized. Here's what Caramelized was looking like last update. It had recently had a pan on it, a pretty small pan, but a pan all the same. This was after 17 uses in the project. I reached for it 5 times since that update, making for 22 uses total, and here's Caramelized today. And I doubt it's going to be much bigger after those just 5 uses, but at least I was able to hit 5 uses. I probably should have done more again since I have had 2 months since that update, but you know, again, it has a pan, so it doesn't need all of my attention anymore. We have other shades to devote our attention to from now on. And let's move on to that next shade, which is a kind of a mid-tone brown matte shade called Puree. This shade is very firmly packed, very dense, and it's gonna be a tricky one for me to hit pan on, even though it's such a wearable everyday shade. Here's what Puree was looking like last update. This was after 21 uses in the project. I reached for it just 7 times since last update, making for 28 uses total. And here's Puree today. And while there is like a slight dip starting to form, it's nothing significant. It's going to be something that wears away quite slowly and evenly because I'm reaching for it as a transition shade using a big fluffy brush with it. So that one is going to be a slow burn, but I am confident I should be able to hit pan on it very soon once I start to really focus in on it. And the shade right next to it is a more warmer mid-tone brown matte shade, and that is Summer Yum. And this is the one that's been getting my attention, which is why Puree has been a little bit neglected, but Puree will have its time. this past couple months was all about Summer Yum. So here's what Summer Yum was looking like last update. This was after 13 uses in the project. I reached for Summer Yum 16 times, making for 29 uses total, and here's what Summer Yum is looking like today. And you can see how deep that pan is getting. This is another shade that pan is just around the corner for, I believe, and I'm really going to strive for that before the next update. I would love to have a pan on that one by June, so fingers crossed on that one. I'm going to keep reaching for it, but again, these shades are very pigmented, very densely packed, and again, I'm using a fluffy brush to reach for it, so it's a slow go, but we're gonna get there eventually. You know, it's the race of the turtle and the hare. Slow and steady wins the race, and I'm just gonna keep chipping away at it. Which brings me to my last shade here, Talk Derby. To me, probably the most challenging shade in this palette. Here's what Talk Derby was looking like last update. This was after 7 uses in the project. I reached for it 5 times since that update, making for 12 uses total. And here's what Talk Derby to me is looking like today. I don't think you're gonna see much of a difference. This is a very stubborn shade. Maybe there's the slightest disturbance in the surface there, but no evidence of a dip yet. I think it's gonna be very challenging for me to hit pan on this one. You know, alongside with Delectable and Tempting, those 3 shades in general are gonna be really a struggle, so I'm gonna have to really focus in on them soon, like really starting now, because if I have any hope of hitting pan on them this year, we gotta start today. So that is all for this update. 5 new pans. We've got a new pan in White Peach, Bless Her Heart, Charmed, I'm Sure, Nectar, and Georgia, which is amazing. I now have pan on 8 out of the 18 shades in this palette, which means I have 10 more shades to go in the remainder of this year. I've still got, 7 more months to do that, and we're gonna get there. I am confident, I am feeling good, and it's just gonna take consistency, which I am here for. So I've also been taking the weight on this palette. In January, when I started this project, this palette was weighing 210.8 grams. As of March, it was down to 209.62 grams. And as of today, which we are just at the end of April, I'm counting it as my May update, it is weighing 208.82 grams. So I am down 0.8 grams from March to May, which is amazing. And in total, I am down just under 2 grams. So we are making good progress in the weight. We're making good progress visually, and I am just loving painting this palette. It is so easy every day, blends beautifully, great for my skin tone, easy to reach for, pairs well with others, and it's just been an absolute joy to pan, and I'm so glad that I chose it. And actually it was you all who helped me choose it, so thank you for voting for this palette. The last part of this video is going to be some goal setting for my next update. So for next month, I want to hit at least 2 new pans. I'm hoping that those pans will be in Summer Yum, Bellini. Those are probably the 2 most likely to have a pan on them by the next update. Candied Peach is going to have a pan soon, but I don't know if next month is going to be the month for it, but that's something that I'm really going to focus on. I want to reach for Cobbler at least 10 times to try and get that dip deeper. I'm going to try and reach for Just Peachy 10 times. Same reason. And then I'm also going to start focusing in on Tempting. I want to reach for that shade at least 10 times. So we've got 10, 10, and 10, and then continuing to focus on Summer Yum and Bellini to hit that pan. And Candied Peach is going to get some good attention too, but I'm not putting the usage goal on it. It's already a shade that I love to reach for, and it's going to be perfect for this time of year. So wish me luck on those goals. I'm not setting an overall usage goal, but generally I'm going to put a preference on reaching for shades in here that already have a pan on them, more than I'm going to be trying to expand any pans. I'm gonna definitely be reaching into these just naturally and getting some use on whatever I feel like for the day, or whatever pairs well with the look that I'm doing that day, and we'll just see what progress I'm able to make that way. You know, I'm gonna be reaching for Peaches and Cream in Georgia. That's part of my everyday routine at this point. I'm gonna be reaching for White Peach and Nectar. That's also part of my everyday routine with the inner corner highlight. Luscious is such an everyday shade. Charmed, I'm sure, is going in my brows almost every single day. So it's going to get some good use. And hopefully I have some exciting things to share with you in the next update. So that is all for my Pan That Palette update. Again, I apologize for missing a month, but that just made this month of updates that much more exciting, and I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to let me know in some kind of way, but I appreciate you all so much just for being here and watching this video. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm sending my love out to you wherever you are in the world that this video finds you, and I hope you're doing well, and I cannot wait to see you in my next video. But until then, take care. Bye.